Phoenix Man will be the next SSR Plus character released on the Awakening Wheel this Wednesday. So here's everything you need to know about Phoenix Man and whether or not he is worth pulling for. So let's get into his attack skills. So for his basic attack, he attacks a single target with 5 hits for 150% of his attack. And for his ultimate attack, he attacks a single target with 2 hits for 150% of his attack, plus an additional 40% of his max HP. And after using this attack, he inflicts exit on the target who is swept away from battle. During this time, that exited target cannot attack, trigger their passive, or be damaged, which will happen once per round and returns back into battle the very next round. And if you have his keepsake, you'll unlock his ultra ultimate attack where he'll deal an additional 50% of his max HP as damage instead of 40%. So his ultimate introduces a very new mechanic that is like stun but can completely remove the passive and that enemy cannot be attacked. However, his keepsake doesn't really add much value in regards to his actual ultimate attack as it's only mainly used for his exiting mechanic. Moving on to his passive skills, so for his regular passive, at the start of battle he increases his max HP by 100% and recovers 50% of his max HP, which is very much like Carnage Kabuto's awakened passive. And he triggers Reborn after taking fatal damage after all of his specialized unyielding chances has been used. So what this means is that he is able to outlive Gargantroop's Undying Shields for an extra life. So say you have Gargantroop's level 4 core, all of your units already basically have 3 lives since those shields activate 3 times. Now Phoenix Man will have those 3 Undying Shield lives plus his additional Reborn, so he will basically have 4 lives. And when he does revive, if an ally is present, then he recovers 15% of his HP before his action, which can trigger up to 1 time per battle. Now if you manage to get him to 5 stars, he will now be able to trigger Reborn up to 2 times per battle, so now he has 5 lives, which is crazy to think about that he can actually outlive Metal Bat in terms of revives. And if you manage to unlock his 5p, he will recover 25% of his HP when he triggers Reborn. Now this isn't really the biggest increase, which is why getting his keepsake isn't extremely important. Now going through his awakened passive, after an ally is defeated, they will revive with 100% of their HP, which can trigger up to 4 times per battle. So this is a brand new mechanic that will allow your other units who die off first to now be fully revived with their max HP, which is only going to make matches a lot longer now until the breakthrough mechanic gets introduced from many of the future grapplers. And if you manage to unlock his second awakening, 6 of your allies will now be able to revive per battle, as well as gaining an additional buff that grants all allies 30% non-crit damage reduction. His Awaken 2 passive will be insanely broken when it does drop, especially because he'll be releasing before the breakthrough mechanic even gets introduced, and even before Atomic Samurai's release, which is absolutely crazy to me. He is going to make your team survive a whole lot longer, so that will be great for both PvP and PvE. Now going through his enhancements, so for his talent page, I would recommend unlocking both of his talent pages, and from his second page, I would recommend upgrading his base HP, damage reduction, and block rate. And from his third page, I would upgrade his base HP, ult damage reduction, and block. Those should be your top priority. And then those marked inside the blue circles are also good stats to upgrade if you do have the spare talent points to do so. For his damage sigils, you don't really need to unlock any of these slots in my honest opinion, since they are pretty useless for his kit, so you can save your sacks there. But for his support sigils, you can use vitality sigils, but if you already have them on Carnage Kabuto, then you can opt for chaos and or bastion sigils, as these are very good types of sigils that will keep your Phoenix Man alive for a lot longer. In regards to his limit break, at a maximum, get him up to 5 stars in order to gain that second additional revive after the specialized unyielding has all been used up, so then he'll be able to survive up to 5 times per battle if you do have Gargantroop's level 4 core, which will be very nutty. And in regards to his awakening, at a minimum, get him to 4p to attain his block rate, block and crit resistance rate buffs. Now his 5p isn't necessary as the HP increase is very little, as you'll be getting one-shotted either way from the majority of SSR Plus units anyways, so I wouldn't bother in trying to unlock his 5p. So in regards to his gear setups, for his gear set, the best set for him would be a drive set, otherwise the next best sets are either a battle, suit or magic set. And with his gears, you would want all 4 of them having HP bonus. And for his buff gears, all of them should have HP, with your villain gear having HP bonus and flat HP, your Esper gear having block rate and flat HP, and your demon gear having damage reduction rate and flat HP. Now damage reduction bonus could also be good to reduce damage reflect or follow up damage as well if you really want to go for that. And if you manage to get an augmentation from upgrading your demon gear, getting a block augmentation would work best with Phoenix Man. Now I'll also be providing some examples of what some lineups can look like with Phoenix Man. So for the first two examples, I included these teams in my Tank Top Masters video already if you haven't seen so, but these two should be pretty similar teams that you'll be seeing across the entire month, where example 2 is what I'm going to be rocking with Gale Wind to be my stunner, because he can still stun people if they don't have Goketsus on their team. Otherwise, you could probably see the first example if you do see players having a heavily invested Goketsu alongside a heavily invested Deep Sea King and Tank Top Master. So these two teams may be very prevalent within the next couple of weeks before Drive Knight's core does eventually come out. Now you could go with the third option, where in this example you can still use Atomic Samurai if you don't have any other sort of spare units or spare grapplers, so he still can be usable. If you haven't seen my Phoenix Reborn account review, a tanky Atomic can be very good, as that is quite annoying to go up against in EBZ and a lot of other PvP game modes. Trust me, I've tried fighting him and it's really irritating. And with Drive Knight's core coming, it might be even more infuriating. So that's not a bad idea as well. But as long as you can max invest into Atomic, then that's not a bad idea. If you don't have Flashy Flash, you could use King as well if you needed a speedster. So this is another example of what a team could look like if you don't have Flashy. Or if you have no speedsters, you can go with something like example 4, where you still have Atomic, you have Deep Sea King and Carnage. Those are relatively many of the pools that majority of players or spenders did get, so you can still use those units alongside Phoenix Man. Gale Wind's there because he can be used for stuns if you did get him during the LSSR era, and if you didn't get him during that time, then again you can get him through the purple ticket summons, which I've seen some people be able to get Gale Wind through there, so this is not another bad alternative. Now for these examples, I didn't really put Phoenix Man sped up except example 1. That's just an example. I've seen some teams and people have emphasized maybe to speed up Phoenix Man or put speed gears on him. It's up to you. If you have Cruel Tactic on villain, there's no need to speed him up because he'll activate his exit mechanic anyways. But if you don't have that Cruel on your villain, then you could use him sped up if you really wanted to. You're going to have to test that out yourself since there's not really much about it around. So you could try that. These are just some examples of what the orientation of lineups can look like, but I haven't really tested how Phoenix Man does work when being sped up. But I probably wouldn't put speed gears onto him because majority of spenders that can go for Awakening Wheels more than likely at least have a speedster or going up against a speedster. So it'll be very hard to outspeed someone anyways if you're not using a speedster with Phoenix Man. So I would just recommend building him full HP just to make him survive as long as possible, but that's entirely up to you. That's just another playstyle that you could use Phoenix Man for. So those are some examples of what some of the lineups can look like with Phoenix Man. So going through the main takeaways from this unit, for his pros, he is a great control support unit since he is able to completely remove enemies from battle, which will slow down your opponents. He is able to fully revive allies multiple times, which will keep your team alive for much longer, and especially if you do get his second awakening, as you can get now up to 6 revives and gain an additional 30% non-crit damage reduction to all allies. So that's just going to make your team even more tankier than it should be. He is a very tanky unit with his max HP boost passive, which is much like Carnage Kabuto's passive. Now he doesn't need to be fully invested in terms of sacks. You can treat him like a core character where he's just basically a support character to use, so no sacks really need to be put into him. He's just there for his passive to revive everyone and exit people. But for you whales out there, if you do still have tons of sacks to spare, or if you've replaced Carnage, then dumping them onto Phoenix Man isn't an entirely bad idea in the future. His reviving and exiting mechanics will be great for both PvP and PvE, as there will be many scenarios where these mechanics can benefit across the entire game, so that's going to be very strong to use. And going off that topic, the main big factor why so many spenders will be looking forward towards getting their hands on Phoenix Man is that he has insane longevity, like the highest ever in this game, because as of currently, with UR Metalbat on the Southeast Asian servers, and even UR Gale Wind within the Chinese servers that's currently out at the moment, Phoenix Man is still fairly used in the current meta right now, 2 years ahead of where global is at the moment. So he's definitely by far has the greatest longevity in the game, and everyone that pulls for him now will be using him for a very, very long time. Now going through some of his cons, he does need his second awakening in order to unlock his max potential, where he can revive 6 allies instead of 4. So if you are going up against someone with an awakened 2 Phoenix Man compared to your awakened 1 Phoenix Man, you are going to lose. Another thing is that his exiting mechanic also cannot remove bosses and reviving units when they are dead. So for example, Zombie Man or Metalbat, when they are downed, lying on the floor, Phoenix Man won't be able to target them and swoop them away because they don't count as entities currently in battle. And finally, he will be locked behind the Awakening Wheel, which will cost you 2,600 funds if you plan on getting only his first Awakening, or it can go up to 4,160 funds if you plan on getting his second Awakening, which is very expensive. So it's going to be a very pay-to-win game right now because Phoenix Man is game broken and lasts for years on end. So it's going to be quite tough for free-to-play, but I do have some news for you. When the UR era does come out eventually in about a year's time on global, the Phoenix Man Awakening Stones, as well as many other SSR Plus Awakening Stones, will be available to summon in those purple ticket summons. So what I would recommend to do right now, if you're in no rush, which I advise probably not to rush it anyways, but save all those purple tickets that you get for free every month, and just keep hoarding them until the year goes by, until when we get the SSR Plus Awakening Stones and also Evo Stones when they come into that banner. That's going to be very beneficial because then you can finally have your hands onto Phoenix Man, because when that feature does come out and his Awakened Stone is put into the purple banner, Phoenix Man is still going to be used by the majority of players in the PvP meta. So it's going to be great for you free-to-play players out there to save those purple tickets now until we finally see Phoenix Man's Awakened Stone in that purple ticket banner. So should you pull for Phoenix Man? So for free-to-play and low spenders, you will have to skip for him since he isn't accessible without spending money onto this game. Now for mid spenders, if you want to spend your money into someone that will be very worthwhile in the long run, then I would recommend to at least getting his first Awakening from the first stage of the Awakening Wheel, which will cost you 2,600 funds. If you decide to do so, you can totally skip his Keepsake, as it isn't really the biggest game changer at all. It's kind of underwhelming, so you can just pull for his Awakened one without his Keepsake and he'll be perfectly fine. And for those high spenders, definitely get Phoenix Man and his second Awakening if possible, as you will be using him as one of your main espers for a very long time. Unless you plan on pulling for multiple characters from here on out, because you could replace some certain characters or even Phoenix Man with Melzagard, or could tag them together. But for you guys as well, I would also recommend to skip his Keepsake, since it really isn't game breaking at all, and the House of Wishes is very expensive. So I reckon it is a waste of money. So please don't really spend for that Keepsake unless you really want his Keepsake in your collection. But honestly, it's not going to give you a very strong competitive advantage whatsoever. And now I present the predicted SSR Plus timeline for global. So much like my last video, we are still unsure about what Moonton will decide on doing with Giro after they did skip him entirely. So I've just predicted that he'll be on the Awakened Wheel for September for the time being, and all of the other wheel characters are my predictions, so this can be completely wrong. I'm not very confident on those ones, but those on the monthly banner I am more so confident on, and they're most likely correct. So it's going to look like Drive Night will be released next month during September. So if you haven't already started saving, then get to it, because he's an extremely important character that everyone must pull for the next coming year to come. Anyways, that wraps up the end of the video. I'd love to give shout outs to all of my YouTube members, as you guys are massive contributors in making this type of content possible. If you're new to the channel and enjoyed this video, then please subscribe to my channel and click on the notification bell to stay up to date in keeping your One Punch Man account the strongest. Feel free to leave a like and a comment down below, and check out my Discord and membership links in the description for if you have any questions, and either myself or the community will help answer for you. So anyways, that's all for today, and I will catch you all next time.